Hi guys, Kevin Ellis Jr. here with the Apex Racing Academy with this track guide for Road Atlanta on the Porsche Cup car. So just to get started off today guys, obviously your first port of call is going to be turn 1. And as you come into here, it's a bit of an awkward corner because obviously high speed, big commitments needed, but you also do need to carry a lot of exit speed up the hill. Because obviously if you can't carry the speed on the exit, you're going to lose a lot of time with it being an uphill section. So what I'm doing into and towards turn 1 here is there's some marks on the track which you can see. Around about here there's some tyre marks and etc. that you can kind of make use of. So for example, this tyre mark right here is probably a pretty good mark here. You can see as the front of the car goes over it, we're beginning to brake. Likewise with this much darker black line on the circuit here as well, you can see start using the brake as you get to them. Obviously keeping it nice and wide on entry, which you can see from the chase camera right up against the grass on the outside here. And it's just about keeping it as wide as you can to try and open up the exit as much as you can. So as we come in, we're going to go down into 4th gear, looking in towards this apex, and right as soon as your right front gets to that apex, you can see it start bringing the throttle in. Now obviously take note that as we're coming out of here, we're not tracking right out to this curb. What I like to do is I like to make use of these seams that go up the track here. So there's 2 of them, obviously one on the right, one on the left. Keep your car for the most part within these 2 seams going up the hill. They're a pretty good gauge of where to position the car to obviously make turn 2, turn 3 easier, and if you can get turn 3 right, it makes turn 4 and even turn 5 a bit easier as well. It just helps you the whole way down the hill. So you can see we track out just slightly over this left hand seam, but we head back over to the right, and you can see how the right hand tyres are right on this black seam, and then right as you come up over the crest, it's a bit blind, obviously it's blind into here, and it's a bit barren of brake markers as well. It's more sort of this little gazebo thing on the inside of turn 3 is more what I'm kind of using as a bit of a brake marker. So as I come over, you can see the roof, and then as we kind of comes up over the horizon, that's kind of my clue to start getting onto the brakes. Down into 4th, you can keep it in 4th for turn 3 if you like. However, on this specific lap, I like to use turn 3. Make sure you have your left-hand wheels on the curb on the outside on turn in, just to help open up the corner. Up and over the inside, making sure you pick up the power just before you get there as well. You can see I'm a little bit late to the power there, which you can see we pick up the throttle sort of as we hit the curb. You want to sort of do it beforehand, and you'll see here on the landing it takes kind of 1 or 2 bounces more on landing. If you can pick up the throttle earlier, transfer the weight to the back, it should give you a smoother landing. So up for turn 3, right up on the curb through 4, all the way through to the left. Again, use this black seam right here as a bit of a gauge. Try and keep your car as left as you can. You know, this is about as far out really as I like to go, just so that I can get the car back towards this curb on the left hand side before heading down the hill. So over to the curb on the left as best we can, short shift into 5th, nice and patient with the throttle down here. If you keep an eye on the throttle input here, you can see how early we're kind of lifting out of it, and it's just a case of trying to balance the car here. So through the force feedback, you can feel if the car is biting or not, and obviously with that then modulate the throttle. And then as we come down the hill, as the car compresses, up to full throttle, nice and aggressive over the curb on the left. And you want to take a lot off that left so that you can take a straighter line into turn 5 here. Now obviously there's a massive bump right here on the entry to 5 on the right hand side which you want to avoid, which you'll be able to see from here. There's that massive bump. We just scoot round it there, get onto the curb so you're braking in a straight line. There's another big bump right here as you come off the curb. There you can see drops off, and then up to the apex of 5. Now here I like to take a good chunk of curb off the inside, just to help open up the exit as well, and it's also a little bit smoother here. If you clip the curb slightly wrong on the inside here, the car will pogo towards the outside. So for me, I like to take a good chunk of curb off the inside, again picking up throttle just before you get to the curb, transfer the weight to the back, should help the curb behaviour, and I take that in 4th as well. I just leave it in 4th all the way through there. You see from the gear marker, or the gear indicator, just there you can see we're still in 4th. Then on the exit as well, a lot of people tend to track out away out here. There's a lot of really gnarly bumps, and especially with how iRacing suspension is modelled at the minute, which isn't great, the car can't handle that at all. So I like to kind of keep it on this sort of flatter section here, keep the left hand wheels near enough on the line or on the flat bit, and you can see it's a fair bit smoother. You get better drive off the corner, and there's less chance of the car pogoing left to right and then spitting you off into a wall. Down towards then turn 6, you've got this 200 board on the left and these kind of white dashed lines going across the track. I'm braking to get to threshold by them. So again, here you go. You can see we're at the white line there. You can see the brake input really doesn't change past that, doesn't get any more. Down into 4th, and again here you can take 3rd or 4th. Me personally, I prefer 4th. Show the brake in, come in nice and shallow as well. You want to turn in quite early. The corner's banked, so it will pull you through the corner. And as you're coming in fourth, trailing the full way in as much as you can, and then as you hit the curb on the inside, as soon as you get that apex on the power, track it out to the curb on the outside on the left here. Get your left hand wheels on that curb, which you can see, down in towards second gear then, and again trailing the brakes in for turn 7. And in terms of braking markers here as well, there really isn't much to use at all. You've got these kind of tyre marks here, but as you come over the top of them, get onto the brakes, that's probably your best bet. Apart from that, it's pretty bare. So as you come in second gear, and then right before you get to the apex, you want to pick up the power. As you can see we're doing here, picking up the throttle all the way back here before the apex. Obviously, long back straight, great passing opportunity. You want to be nice and early on the throttle, but you do also want to be smooth on it as well. So you can see we're kind of gradually up towards 100. It's quick, but it's gradual. It's not shock loading the rears at all. And obviously you can make use of the curb on the outside without much issue. Down the straight, just try and keep it straight as you can, obviously. You got a little left kink into a right kink, so just keep it as straight as you can. Nice and tight over to the right hand side. And then as we come down this hill, you'll notice a track over to the left. That's just because I don't necessarily like braking in a straight line. By coming out to the left hand side here, you can sort of brake diagonally, so I can brake still at the same point as before, but I'm making the braking zone an extra metre or two longer just to give me that chance to pull the car up. So I can still brake later, but by making the braking zone diagonal, you're making it a little bit longer, which again, as I say, means you can brake later but still make the corner. So as we're coming down into here, again, pretty bad on the brake markers. The 100 board is just unfortunately too late. So again, you've got this black mark that goes across the track here. By all means use that as a brake marker, but it can be a little bit difficult. For me personally, it was more braking to get to threshold by these white lines, which you can see here. Slowly on the brakes, up towards threshold, at the white line, and you can see it's near enough 100%. If you get to 100% brake, that's absolutely fine. You're not going to lock a tyre. This braking zone, the car's compressing while you're braking. So as you're hitting that compression, being at 100% braking isn't going to cause any lockups of any sort, but you do need to make sure that you come off the brakes soon enough that you don't snag an inside front as you begin to turn in, and all the weight is transferred to the outside rear tyre. So I'm not quite to 100% brake, but I mean, we're as near as damn it, maybe 95% or so. Aiming for the curb on the right hand side, down into second gear, and I like to just clip the curb on the outside as well. You can actually drive out to it as well if you want, and then we begin to turn in. You can see how quickly as well we drop the brake out of that. This is what I was talking about with locking the inside front. As soon as we begin to pull the car into the inside, we just drop a ton of brake out of it, keeping just enough in just to keep decelerating, and then right before we get to the grass on the inside, we're going to pick up that throttle really close to an off track there. You can take quite a bit off that left hand curb, get into full throttle before the right into third, and then nice and aggressive over the curb on the inside. There's a big dip right on the apex that as you hit it, it will pull you through the corner and straight back to 100%. Make full use of the curb on the outside, right out to the left, right out to the grass, and then as you come over the bridge, try and take the shortest route you can, straight line it, then aiming for the curb on the outside. We're up into fifth at this point. Now, this final corner is actually a bit more difficult than you might think. A lot of people, when they get to here, will want to start lifting. You might find yourself wanting to lift when you're doing laps here. But actually the best thing to do is keep it pinned for as long as you can. This car really does rotate on throttle, so as soon as you lift, all you're going to do is actually induce understeer. If you want to make the car rotate, you need to be on the power, which you'll notice here. So we turn in away from the curb, still flat, aiming in towards the apex, still flat. As we get to the apex curb, we're still flat. Then as we hit the curb, that's then when we lift. You can't keep it flat over this curb, and you do need to lift at some point in the final corner. So why not do it at the same, at one point, rather than having to lift early, get on the power, then lift to go over the curb again. Rather than having two lifts, we just have one big one in the middle of the corner, just to help with the curb behaviour of the car. And as I say, you can't get through this corner pinned, but it's about keeping it pinned as long as you can. So you need to just drive it in deeper than you feel. Then as you get to the curb here, lift off so the car can take the curb. Then as it lands, back to full throttle. Obviously here, this is a bit ambitious. You can see we've got 90 degrees of opposite lock coming across the line. But obviously this is more of a sort of hot lap, Q lap. But even then, you can see we didn't get an off track. So if this happened in the race, we could have easily continued on absolutely fine. But obviously, repeatedly doing this, your left rear is going to hate you after a very short period of time. But with that, guys, that is basically a lap of Road Atlanta. Really, really tough track in this car. One of the most rewarding combinations for sure. just with obviously how hard it is. But if you can master it around here, then you're probably in a pretty good place. So with that, guys, anyway, that is, as I say, a lap of Road Atlanta. Any kind of questions, Apex Racing Academy Discord is where to ask them. I can get back to you as soon as possible. But with that, guys, the best of luck in your races this week, and we'll see you next week.